Hey, what's up? This video is I love being a hobo. A hobo is a dude who bounces around, travels around, doesn't really stay in one place, and then moves on to the next place. I like that because I can feel like I've lived a long time. I could feel like I've lived a lot of lives. I feel like I've lived my life because because I feel like I've been local at a lot of different places. And it only takes me like a month to feel like I am a local because all the people who I react with, like, for example, I was in this one neighborhood in Sacramento for like a month. And at the end of that month, I was a local, man. I was a local. I go into the Blockbuster and all the people there knew my name. They'd say my name. Hi, Kyle. And I'd be like, hey, you know, and I go into the gym. Hey, Kyle. And I'd be like, hey, you know, and then you're working out in the gym and there's these people next to you and you see them, you've seen them a bunch of times. You go into the coffee shop and you see the same people in the coffee shop. You see them over and over again, you know, and they recognize you and you recognize me. You've never talked to them, but you're part of the community. You're both part of the community. You're both you're like brothers in arms, you know. You're part of the same family. You're together. You're homies, even though you've never talked to them. And you have that feeling like you're part of a community, and you're not alone, and you feel, you know, you can smile at people, and it's like, and then you leave that place and you go to another place. And you get to find all the other experiences. Then you can become a local again, right? All over again with the same people. And so it's like you're almost like as much of a local then after 1 month as you would have been after being there for like 10 years, you know? Like when I was in high school, I went to high school with a whole bunch of kids who I'd been to school with for 6 years and I'd never, ever, ever talked to them. But, and so it's the same thing. I'm in Bellingham for a month, and I've never ever talked to any of the people who I drink coffee next to, or I work out at the gym next to, or something. But I know them, and they know me, and it's the same thing. And so then you go to the next town, and then you know them too, and it like expands you as a person. It expands your life, and you live all these different lives. And that's one aspect of it. The other aspect is, you get to see the differences of all the different towns. You get to see the little subtle differences between people and nuances, because there are like marked differences. Like here in Bellingham, maybe I should do the video what I think about Bellingham now, because I'm pretty much going to leave pretty soon. But Bellingham is really friendly, man. People here are really, really, really friendly, dude. It's crazy, you know? And people in like Las Vegas are really, really, really intrusive. People in Sacramento are like really, I don't know, they're kind of like introverted. People in Boulder are really uptight. People in Austin are really friendly. People in Moab are really conservative. People in Durango are really conservative, you know, and all sorts of stuff. You can let you notice stuff about people. Like I came here to Bellingham, and all of a sudden, not just Bellingham, but Washington, like Bellingham and Seattle. All of a sudden, like all the women here are like amazing. The women in Seattle and Washington are amazing. They like so outgoing. They like talk to you. They ask you questions. They like have stuff to say. They volunteer information. They remember your name. I mean, it's crazy, dude. Like way more than anywhere else I've ever been in America. You know, it's like some places people are just like, and they see you and they feel like they act like they don't even recognize you, you know, like Durango's like that. And it's like, yeah. So it's crazy how personalities can change. Like this cop pulled me over or woke me up in my car because I guess they called the cops on me in the neighborhood. He's like, "Hey man, how's it going?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm on a road trip." "Oh, cool, man, live in your van, awesome, dude." Wow. And he's like, "How you like Bellingham?" You know, it's like, It's like different from like Tucson, where the dude's like, "What the hell are you doing? Camped out in front of the cop station. I'm gonna arrest you if I see you here again." And yeah, and then the other cops there are like telling me that like I can't beg for money. It's illegal to beg for money. I'm like, I never did that. But yeah, you can. So that's the other aspect. You can see all the different subtle differences between places, and then also the differences in infrastructure and the similarities. You know, it's really cool. Like America's great because its infrastructure is really similar. There's always a Blockbuster Video and a Starbucks and a library and a Gold's Gym and a supermarket, all like within a couple blocks of each other where I go. So it's like the same city, only in a little bit different of a configuration. And it makes me feel really familiar. It makes me feel like I'm at home no matter where I am. You know, and all the people have the same accent, and only the scenery is different. It's like a video game. It's like playing Grand Theft Auto. Bike touring is actually really similar to playing Grand Theft Auto. You're like going through the landscape, and then all of a sudden you go into a city and there's people walking around, and then you leave and you're going down the road for a really long time, and then you're in the city, and it's like really fucking, it's funny, man. But like, yeah, there's so many different beautiful places in America that you can go to one town and you can see like mountains and sea, and then you go to another place and oh, now you're in the desert, and it's like playing a video game. You know, it's like, what game are we going to do today? Are we going to race cars through the desert or through the rainforest, you know? Are we going to go to Monaco or or on the island in Hawaii, you know? It's like when the scenery changes all the time, you're always like, oh, cool, man. And you always feel fresh. It like rejuvenates you, you know? You get like depressed and like tired in one town, and then you're like, I'm bored with my life, you know? I'm lonely, and then you're like, oh, I have an idea. Go to another town. Then you go to their town, and you're like, oh my God, so exciting, man. New faces. It's cool to see new faces because I like people. I think people are beautiful, you know, and but you can get bored of seeing the same people over and over and over again, you know. And so if you see like go to another place, and then you see all the new people, it's like, and like people are interesting because people are like this is another interesting important facet about it. People are really interesting. They are, you know, there's like 7 billion people in the world, but there's no two people are alike. People are always individual, and you know, just like there's never two snowflakes that are alike. But I think we've all lived over in the world for billions and billions of years, and we've all known each other. We've all been like family members with each other at one point or another in the past, and that's a really trippy thing to think about. Maybe I should make a video entitled that, just talking about that one thing. But we have all been, you know, and even in the last 2,000 years, if you want to plug in all the different like friends you've had in the last 2,000 years, friends and family members in the last 2,000 years, these are people who are kind of on the similar path as you are, you know, because they were your friends and family, you know, and so you're destined to bump into them again. And, you know, I think of all the friends and family I've had on the earth for the last 2,000 years, I would bet you that most of them are here in America, you know. You know, just like same thing like if you're in Spain. Most of the people that they were friends and family with are in Spain. People move around from place to place throughout their lives, but they also change and stay in the same place throughout their lives. But anyway, what I'm getting at is I think that every town I go to and everywhere I go, I'm always bumping into people who I've known, who've like been family members of mine within the last 2,000 years, or friends of mine, you know, or acquaintances of mine, you know. And even if you want to spread it out to the last like 10,000 years, you know, or even in the last 100,000 years as like a human, if you were to go back to that timeline, like say I go over and I see like somebody working at the coffee shop, and you say hi to them, or at the gym, and you like, because a lot of people who I meet, I feel like I've met them already. I feel like I've met them before, like I know them. There's one person, but I mean, I can tell that they're the only person in the world like that. even though they do look like some other people or act like some other people, there's only one of them. And, but you know so much that there's only one of them, and you can feel it so deeply that it's probably, and the deeper you feel it, like if you feel it really deeply, like there's only one of you, I know you. It's probably because you actually do know them, like you've known them before. You're just reuniting with them. So I bet you a lot of the times, me like walking around the street on the supermarket, or like the Starbucks, and I see somebody and I think they're a beautiful person, interesting person, lots of like soul. I bet you they're, and then I bet you they were like my neighbor back 500 years ago in England. And if I were to warp drive back to that time, I would see them, they would look the same. I think you look the same as you do in your past life. You do get your looks from your parents, but you also look differently from your siblings, and you look differently from your siblings because you're different souls. You look differently. You actually do look differently on the soul level from each other, and it's your soul that makes you look like that. So like, I bet you I could even recognize my face if you were to like look at all of the me's in the past life and put me up against the wall, all the past me's up against the wall with the past you's, I'd be able to pick out me because it'd look like me. It'd be my face, just with a little bit, just like in a different race. Because there's lots of people with different races, but they look the same, Like there's a black guy and he looks like this white guy, And it's probably because their souls are similar. So basically you see somebody in the coffee shop and then you look at them, you can say you have the power to like go back in time. The aliens give you the device to go back in time and look at them. And yeah, it's you and them hanging out and you're like best friends. You go fishing every weekend. And they look the same, just a little bit different because they're in a different body with different genetics. And you look the same, just a little bit different. But it's the same person. And then you fast forward it and it's you and them again. And on some level, you know that it's them because you feel that soul connection and you go, oh yeah, hey, yeah, yeah. And you're talking and you're friends. And the upper part of you, your soul up above knows that and you do intuitively. But yeah, it's kind of trippy like that, So you're always like, just like in this life, you're bumping into people you knew when you were a kid. And you do remember because this is the same life and you remember everything that happened in this life. But I think it's the same thing. And when you travel around from like town to town, you meet so many different people. So many different people who are really nice people, really friendly people. You could be friends with them. You probably have been friends with them in the past. But you don't have to hang out with them. You can just see them in the coffee shop a couple times, say hi to them, and that's enough. That was our reunion. We were best buddies for 5 years, 500 years ago. And then we bumped into each other in this life, said hi, didn't even learn each other's names, said hi like 5 times. And that was our reunion. And then we moved on. And then maybe we'll be, not maybe, surely, we'll be best friends again sometime in the future when we bump into each other, And then, it'd be an interesting thing to do is to because we'll have the technology in those days, is to get on the computer and be like, oh, look, let's look at all the funny times we bumped into each other. Oh, haha. Back in 2011, the summer in Bellingham, I remember that time when we bumped into each other. Haha, so funny we didn't notice. Oh, and then 500 years before that's when we first met each other. That was a real good life together. We had a whole barrel of laughs back then, But to kind of live your life knowing that and keeping that in the forefront of your mind, whenever you see somebody who's beautiful or interesting, you go, oh, look, it's you again. Hey, my friend, And then you get bored with all of your friends. Because like the way I see it is all the people who I do dealings with, like the people I see next to me in the library or who serve me my coffee at the Starbucks or the gym people who recognize me every time I go in, they're my friends. I don't hang out with them. I don't talk to them. I don't spend any time with them. But they're my community. They're my friends. And then I move to the next community. So it's like reboot. It's like living multiple different lives. It's like reincarnating, It's like I lived only knowing that you're reincarnating and being able to remember your past lives. That's what it's like. Because that's what life is. That's what reincarnated life is. You live a life you've got these friends and this family, this situation, then you die, and then it's something totally new. Die, something totally new. But when you're in a hobo, it's like tons of lives in a short amount of time. Boom, this life. Boom, this life. I lived in this town. I lived in this town. I lived in this town. You know, like I've been camping out in the same place in the neighborhood in Bellingham. I'm one of the neighbors, you know, whether those people know that I'm there or like that I'm there or not, I'm just as much of a neighborhood as they are. I live in Bellingham, and I'm their neighbors, and I live next to them, and that's my life. You know, so and then 10 years, I'd be like, yeah, I used to live in Bellingham. Oh, yeah, how long were you there? Oh, a month. Oh, okay, well, I did. I used to live in Bellingham. I know what Bellingham's all about. I know the streets. I know how the people are like, you know. I know what the scenery looks like. It's fucking... So, yeah, so it's really exciting to be able to go to another town and, you know, especially towns that you really like, and then you get to stay there for a lot longer. Like Seattle. I'm really excited to go back to Seattle because the people in Seattle are really friendly. It's a really beautiful city because it's really hilly. You can see water everywhere. You know, lots of trees. It's a huge city, so there's lots of stuff there. Yeah, it's a really cool city. It's not too hot. Yeah, so I really like Seattle. And, you know, I know what you're thinking, like, oh, fuck you, you're making me jealous. Or maybe you might be thinking that. You fucking trust fund motherfucker. Well, it's like, okay, number one, I'm not that rich. About $1,000 a month. That's not that much. But there are ways to be a hobo and make money being a hobo. You can work on the computer. I work on the computer on the internet all the time. There's internet at Starbucks. You can use Starbucks as your office, you know. You just buy, they don't mind. You just buy your food there at Starbucks, or you go to another Starbucks, and they don't mind if you're at the library every day, you know, especially if you're a hobo moving around, you're there for a month and you're there for a month. So you got the internet, so you can do work there, just like it's your office if you work on the internet, and that's how you get your money. You know, if you're like a web designer, or you're a dude who books tickets on cruise lines, or you're there's tons of jobs you can do over the computer, you know? And so you can do that as a hobo, living out of your car and saving a fuckload of money, dude. And it's really fun. And so that's why I love being a hobo. I love the hobo life. Yeah. So I guess that's enough talking.